Hello and welcome to another episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel Progression Series. In this episode, we will be deviating away from the solo mode campaign and instead we'll be focusing on the ranked duels, as I believe that since the game has just launched, it would be most beneficial if I were to do the ranked duels right now, as opposed to if I were to wait until everyone else would have acquired these ultra rare cards and become a lot more powerful. So to spoil it for you, over these last few days as I've been grinding ranked duels, I have managed to progress all the way to Gold Tier 3. And in today's episode I will be going through some replays, explaining the game style of the Pendulum deck which I've chosen to pilot, and kind of speaking about the journey and what it feels like playing in this OCG ban list and how it differs from the TCG in comparison. It is also worth noting that I've made a lot of progress in the Duel Pass, as I've reached grade 54 in just a few days of playing, which is great to see because in other games when it comes to this Battle Pass system, a lot of them require a lot of grinding and it becomes a real journey to beat them. However, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, it is actually quite simple, and just by playing a dozen or so games you can finish the free Battle Pass, which is really unheard of. And something I really appreciate, as they put a lot of focus into making the game accessible for the free-to-play players and not just restricting it behind the paywall. So without further ado, let us begin. So this first replay I'm showing you is kind of from the early stages of the ranked duels. Here's just a simple summon and set from an opponent, and I respond by kind of trying to build an advantage engine around these pendulum monsters which require spell counters. That's why I'm activating a lot of spells, and even in this game I end up using Pendulum Call and Raigeki to kind of give additional counters that can use the effects, because they're very powerful as they allow you to search cards from your deck and gain advantage onto the field. And that's the main focus of these pendulums and Endymion monsters. And here I summon this Link monster to kind of allow me to summon 4 monsters from my hand, and to kind of use the Pendulum Magician's effect in order to summon from the deck, because otherwise it would have been restricted by the 5 zones that are available. Here I also use summon Celine because she's really good at gaining counters, and my Endymion Pendulum monster, he needs 6 counters in order to be summoned, and once he's summoned he can kind of blow up cards. Now here I accidentally blew up the Celine but ended up winning anyways. In the second game, this is kind of an example of just another common deck you'll see lower down in the ladder, which is Monarchs, which is a very common deck and is very favored by the players because it's simple to pilot and it can be extremely strong and it summons these huge bodied monsters. Now here, Domain of the Monarchs is a great card because it counters these decks that focus on the extra deck, as it just locks them out of it. And it's quite easily searchable and easy to use. So here he ends in a pretty average board for Monarchs, just getting big bodies in the field and supported by Domain. So my turn, he comes and activates the effect of either of the Monarchs, gets another Monarch, and I kind of respond by trying to return the advantage and to summon as many big monsters as I can on my side. So here pendulums are great because they can spam everything out of their hand and from the extra deck, and here this Pendulum Magician is great because it allows me to go into Time Storm Magician, which is an advantage engine on its own. I also go into Allies Absolute Dragon, as it is able to equal either the Heavenly Monarch in terms of attack, as that is something that it kind of sometimes struggles with, as it doesn't have the largest bodies in the field. However, it is very easy out, and I'm able to cleanly do enough damage in order to kind of put him on his deathbed, and the next turn he kind of tries to make a comeback. He summons his Monarchs and he tries to get as much advantage back. However, I'm able to negate his Mobius the Monarch and kind of destroy it, and now he's left with nothing on the field essentially. And at the end of that, when he's left with this nothing and he knows that I have all these monsters, he surrenders the game and I win the game. So in this game we're going against Crystons, and my opponent of course tries to establish as much field as he can. However, when he does so, it kind of feels like he's not experienced with the deck, as what he ends up doing is he summons a bunch of link monsters, which are kind of unnecessary and don't really accomplish much in terms of his strategy. He doesn't have much options on my turn, which is what Cristrons excel at. So here I begin my turn and he immediately chains Needle Fiber in order to summon a Crystron which basically does nothing. It doesn't do anything, and so I proceed with my combos and get all the advantage going with Pendulum Call. I activate my scales, I establish them, I summon monsters from my hand, and I use the Harmonizing Magician, which is amazing, I love her, and I get Time Star Magician, which keeps the combo going. And the great thing is I can search Endymion Mighty Master, which is just amazing because he is a boss monster on his own. So here my strategy is to kind of just work to make sure that my field is empty enough and it has enough spell counters in order to facilitate me wiping his whole field through the use of my Endymion Mighty Master. And once Endymion Mighty Master is summoned, I can destroy up to 5 cards in the field, because that's how many spell counter containing cards I have, which is simply amazing. And my opponent realizes that and simply admits defeat because there's nothing he can do. Now in this next game I'm going first, so my goal is to kind of establish something which will be hard for him to crack, and if I can, have as many negations as possible in order to make his job difficult. In this case he drops Maxi on me and I respond by keeping going because Time Star Magician is a really good card. He can kind of keep the advantage on my side, because in the follow-up next turn, Harmonizing Magician can give me another 2 monsters on the field. Now here my goal is to know when the choke point of his combo is and to counter it, and that is exactly what I try to do. And luckily, even though he has a lot of cards in his hand, it is not enough and he ends by simply setting cards and passing. And when it comes to my turn, I have to know when is the key point for me to negate. For example here, he activates a trap card, but I realize the trap card doesn't do anything dangerous, and so I allow it to resolve, just in case the other set card is a danger card that I would need to prevent later. And that is a key thing to realize when it comes to combo decks. You must not be trigger happy when it comes to negations. You must know when to use it. So in this case, I just simply keep the advantage going, and I keep my resources where I can, and I don't overcommit to where I don't have to. I just make sure I always have big bodies in the field, and I make them even bigger by adding big numbers such as Astrograph Magician. In this case, I didn't really need to do much because he was already he doesn't have much to do, and this Solemn Judgment didn't really add anything, and he simply admits defeat. So with regards to the deck and how it looks, it's gone through many iterations and many changes throughout this rank progression. And this is kind of where it stands at the moment. And although it will probably change in the future, this is a current iteration. Now, I know it's not the best, but this is what I'm using and my interpretation of it. So here I crafted these 3 Maxis because I know they're the absolute best card in the game right now. It's an absolute advantage engine when you have it on your turn going second. With regards to the pendulums, the main focus of the deck and the most powerful unit has to be the Endymions, as they are simply large bodies with negations, and that gives the deck a lot of variability and versatility. Now also you have to speak about the Magicians, and the Magicians work really well because they kind of merge with Endymions through, for example, Time Star Magician, which can search Endymion Mighty Master, which is really amazing, and you have the amazing cards such as Electromite, which gives you a lot of versatility as it can allow you to search from your deck pendulum monsters as well as draw cards, which is really amazing. And of course you have the MVP card for me, which is Time Pendulum Graph. It allows you to destroy up to 2 cards your opponent controls when paired with pendulums that cannot be destroyed, or pendulums which can be protected by Time Pendulum Graph, which is really amazing. And the best part is it allows you to send the second card, which means that you can destroy cards which are immune to card destruction, which is really amazing and comes in handy, especially going against Golden Lord, for example, which can be a huge problem to deal with. Now in terms of the deck's weakness, I personally struggle to kind of build going first turns, which is why I sometimes fall back into going second and relying on this Maxi advantage. So for me personally, I don't know how to set up these 5 negates, which is hard for me to adjust to because I haven't been playing this deck for very long, but I'm hoping with more time and practice I'm able to familiarize myself with it and to know which cards I should create in order to enhance the strategy, whether it's Appaloosa or some other card which will enable me to do so. But for now, that is where it stands, and I've been enjoying the progress so far. So if you'd like to continue watching this journey, please subscribe and follow along, as I assure you there'll be plenty more to go in this amazing new Yu-Gi-Oh game. Thanks for watching.